Oh, hi.
You know, when you're a performer and people see you on TV or the movies or they hear your voice on radio, they sometimes get the idea that, well, that's your line of work and you do it because it brings in a paycheck. Well, that's not always the case. I don't mean to brag, but I am sharing the set right now with two great performers that I've been privileged to work with, two really great guys. Ed McMahon, who we know from some of the best shows on television, Star Search, I got to plug in.
Please, Star Search.
And of course, The Tonight Show. And the man who taught America how to count to 40
That's right.
backwards.
Backwards, that's right.
Jesse Kasem. When Labor Day rolls around, you can be sure that their wives, their family, they know where they're going to be and who they're going to share the holiday with. And both of these men are so well known that neither of them really needs publicity. So we know that you're not in it for that. Why do they volunteer every Labor Day weekend for Jerry Lewis and the Muscular Dystrophy Association? This is 20, we said it was over 27 years.
I think it's over 27 years. I'll tell you how it started. Jerry was hosting. He was the substitute host on The Tonight Show for a week.
Right.
And we got to be pals. It was one of those things I didn't know him that well, but in a week's time, working every night, we had dinner a couple of nights. And all of us, by the Friday night, we are the bosom buddies. So he said to me, he said, I'm doing this telethon. I want you to come over. So I said, all right. So I went over to the Americana Hotel, and I'm standing around in the back, and it was fairly well organized, but not anywhere like it is now. And all of a sudden, he introduced, here he is, Ed McMahon. I come up, I sit down, and he asked me about 2 questions. He said, Ed, I got to go to the bathroom so bad. Would you take over? And he leaves me, right? Now, I don't even know where the cameras are. I don't know anything. So I, being a performer, you know, I look and I see, you know, so-and-so, the 3 charms, whatever they are. And here they are, lady, you know, I'm a great pointer. I can handle that. You know, here they are, the 3 charms. And, you know, there we go, right? So I do about an hour. Now, he's supposed to be at the back. Now, I look over. Here he is on the sidelines like this. You know, like, you're doing a good job. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. So I wind up doing it, like, with him. He came back, of course, but I did about 3 hours. Then the next year, I think that's when we went national, because we're out in Vegas, and I did about 6 hours with him. And then he said, I know, that went on for a couple of years. Then one year he said, boy, he said, you know what I wish? I said, what? He said, I wish you'd do the whole show with me. I says, I will. You never asked me. And since then, whatever that was, 20-something years ago, I've been doing the whole show with him ever since.
Now, they were not in those days. Telethon wasn't part of the vocabulary before it went national, right? Is this the daddy, the grand?
Oh,
is
yes,
this the one they're all measured
he
up?
created the whole concept, yes.
What it's measured up against. And you're 10 years?
You know, actually, Jesse, it was 12 years. And my story isn't as dramatic as Ed's, or nearly as funny, but actually, somebody had called asking for my services about 3 or 4 years before that, but a secretary just assumed that I was too busy and said, oh, no, he couldn't do that. He's much too busy. So I would have much loved to have been on. I would really love to have been on much sooner, but somebody said, was speaking for me and said the wrong things.
Now, I know you all have special memories of telethons past, and probably that will tell us how deep Jerry's commitment is to the cause. And they show how emotionally involved he is with what they call his kids. What are some of those memories?
Well, of course, I think it's such a marriage of the entertainment qualities and then the emotion. And he's always said that he wants to entertain first, get their attention, and then tell the story. You know, get them to reach in their pocketbook and get involved. And that marriage is so wonderful. You think of the highlights, like I remember Sinatra had confided to me about a month before, he said, I'm going to pull a fast one on Jerry. I'm going to bring Dean Martin out when I'm out to do my thing. He said, don't tell anybody. So only about 4 people knew that. I was one of them. And when Martin walked out, you know, and walks up to Jerry and says, so, what have you been doing? I mean, that was one of the great lines in show business. So, what have you been doing? Anyway, but then there were moments, and they were always so touching to me, when something happens out of the blue. Nobody planned it. It's like a very emotional moment. Like Peter Kelly, do you remember that moment? Yes. That was incredible.
I don't know how I can say really anything to the person who, more than any other individual in the world, is leading the fight to save the lives of my children. I don't know how to say thanks for that, but I hope you'll accept them with all the love that I have to give you. Thank you, Jerry.
And then there was little Ben Terraberry.
I want you to see Ben Terraberry, who was our poster child, who stood up to applaud for this courageous hero, Jim Grigsby. He stood up, and he doesn't have that easy a time doing that. Ben Terraberry, this child, stood up for this courageous hero. Now, what do you want to talk about? Thank you, Ben, my darling. And the tears in his eyes are real, by the way.
And remember his dance with Mary Pasalacqua?
I never dreamed the day would come when I could once again climb a flight of stairs and return to my normal activities. I have had the privilege of observing what can only be described as a medical miracle. God bless you, Jerry. P.S. My dream is to dance with you.
I have never been the part or anywhere near seeing a dream come true. And that's heavy, but I'm going to see it come true for a lady now.
And you'll see the real Jerry Lewis when he's got a baby in his arms.
Alex is a healthy baby. She's strong. She's a little porker. You want to say something? You want Grandpa to talk on it? Grandpa will do anything you want, sweetheart.
I need that to do the show.
He's also a healthy baby, another porker that's going to grow up to be a marvelous human being. And isn't that the way it's supposed to be? Isn't that the way it was meant to be?
Wow, can you imagine the physical and emotional energy that that man has expended over the 40 years that he's been doing this?
Well, through the years, he's always said, I remember in his autobiography, he said, working 18 hours a day is exhilarating and keeps me young and healthy.
How does he do it?
I don't know, he's got incredible energy, and also to follow something like that. That's what I mean about that marriage of entertainment and that incredible emotion. You could hear in his voice when he walked over to, before he walked over to dance with Mary. You hear that in his voice, but then later on he's going crazy. You know, he's got his nose up to the camera, he's trying to get money, he's hitting somebody in the back of the head, can't remember the cameraman's name, pretending he really knows those cameraman's name, but he walks around and goes wacko. And then he can do an emotional piece and solemn and quiet.
And there were parts of that that were even sexy.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I knew a friend in Detroit. I remember we'd seen Jerry Lewis and Dean at the Fox Theater, and she thought he was the sexiest man alive.
Yeah.
But he's best when he acts like he's 9 years old.
Oh, yes.
And he's best when he
nutty
acts like he's a
professor.
man who is full of wisdom and philosophy, and he's very good, and as you know, profound when he begins to speak about something that he believes in and has conviction for and tells us about, and that's
one of the great moments when he with the band with the chorus. You know, the chorus that sings
you mean
what do they call it?
The tall
cedars. They all wear those hats, you know, the little fez and the thing. And he gets in there. He's wearing a hat. He's playing the trumpet. He's got the blackened out teeth. I mean, he's like, just as you said, a little kid. He's a little kid, but it's entertaining and it's wonderful.
It's a clown. You know, I think it feels like you're going to burst into song. I have to agree with what you said. In my opinion, Jerry invented the buddy system single-handedly, and there are plenty of moments from telethons past that prove how many friends this man has. Wouldn't you say that just about everybody who's been a big star has been on that telethon?
Everyone.
And people love him not only for his humanity, but for his talent, too. He's probably one of the most talented people in the whole world today. And if I can carry it one step further, there's a great line, a great thought that Khalil Gibran, the poet, and you quote Gibran a lot, I know, said, and I think it applies to Jerry, this thought, and it's, keep me away from wisdom that does not cry, from philosophy that does not laugh, and from greatness that does not bow before children. That's Jerry. And I think those are some of the qualities that the man has that endears everybody in America who has ever watched a telethon to this giant man in our industry and humanitarian.
I don't know of anyone that was asked that hasn't participated from the highest level. You take Richard Burton, anyone, there's a list of them that's unbelievable. Burt Reynolds, they're all there. They all show up. They all participate. Ed Asner.
You introduce me?
Yes.
I'll tell the jokes.
Oh. Whose?
I was...
I dress up when I'm going to be with you, Frank. That's what I want you to know. When I'm with you, sweetheart, I go
He
top
has
drawer.
no pants on. Just his shorts.
What are you, crazy? A man's got to sing something.
Oh, not the new clubs, Jerry! Not the new clubs! Wait a minute, no, I'll get it. No kidding.
Of Camelot.
See what I mean? Over the years, every big name in show business has turned out to be with Jerry Lewis on Labor Day and to do this special show for Jerry's kids. He's had the biggest lineup of stars ever assembled on one show. And he does it year after year after year. That's a lot of talent and a lot of caring and a little levity. What are some of the funny moments that you remember?
Well, you know, the thing that he does when he pretends that he's someone else. We had a fellow that came out. You remember Joe Piscopo?
Oh, sure.
Did an imitation of him as the nutty kid, you know, with the glass and everything. And he came out. And then they had a little Joe Piscopo Jr. Did you see that year?
Yes, that was
now,
funny.
he came out, and he's being his father and Jerry Lewis all combined.
Wait,
he's
you moved
walking
that
on his
back.
ankles.
He
got
called
the
me
black and-
over. Wait a second. Get over by where he wanted me. Where's the card? He said, no, would you let me through here, you dummy? I have to work. Here, just move. Why are you jumping around? Can't you have a pedestal like he? Where's Larry? Oh, it's Harry? What is your name? Harry. Hi, Harry. I'm Jerry. Glad to see you. How's the family? Wonderful. You don't scare me. What you say?
If there's any of you folks out in television that have a phone, if you could call the studio and tell my lighting director that the damn lights are a pain in the tuchus, I'd like to get them all taken out, see? Hello?
It's delightful, delicious, it's the lovely.
I've got you under my skin. I've got you deep in the heart of me. So deep in my heart, you're really a part of me. I've got you under my skin. It's just one of those days. Just one of those crazy days. Running hotels and now and then rain. Just one of those days. So goodbye, dear, and amen. Here's hoping you will understand. It was great fun, but it was just one of those things.
Are there times when he broke you up, too?
Oh, sure. He would love to do that. Some of them I can't mention on family television.
Yes, you can. Clean it
well,
up and
he
tell
does a
us.
funny thing that's, let me see if I can explain it. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but sometimes in the front of a man's pants, there's a little device called a zipper. And oftentimes he will open that part and he'll reach in and pull his shirt out. And well, you have to see it. You have to be there. But yeah, that breaks me up. Especially if I'm right in the middle of a very serious piece I'm doing, and he's standing by the camera and doing that. Sometimes that can tickle your risibilities.
How do you keep a straight face, though?
That's a good question. You
Oh.
know, I remember the first time I did something,
Right.
and I was doing my first introduction. It was my first show, and Jerry came up. And he started nibbling on my ear and doing all crazy. And I said, no, I'm not going to break. I'm going to get through this. I've got to get through this. And I did. I don't know how it happened. It was like the first time I ever saw Jerry Lewis. It was at war with the Army, and I'd heard so much about him and how wonderful he was and how funny he was. Went to the theater, and I remember exactly where it was, the Dexter Theater on Dexter Avenue in Detroit, and I sat there, and for the whole thing, I just sat there and I said, then I got on the bus on the way home, and I started laughing.
Yeah.
And they thought I was crazy because I wanted him to prove to me he was funny, and he was so funny it was contained, and then I exploded on the bus, and people thought I was insane. But
you know, all kidding aside, I think it's great the way people turn out, and they do this because they love Jerry and they want to help, and they also, I think it makes you feel good, and people want to do something that makes them feel good. That's the kind of feeling that Jerry inspires in others, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, have you seen people who've been through this on a Labor Day, and at the end what their feeling is?
We have what we call our family, you know, like Maureen McGovern, Lorna Luff. People that, you know, just every year they show up, they're available. Whatever you want to do, they're there. Julius LaRosa, all these people that just, we're here, you know, whatever it is. And Julie, here's a guy that flies all the way out from New York, interrupts his schedule to come out, and he's there in the wee small hours. You know, when we take a little break, when I take a break, or Johnny, Johnny, listen to me, I'm still saying Johnny, when Jerry takes a break, he'll come in, do his song. I mean, he's not proud. It's not a big, he's singing at 3 o'clock in the morning. He's happy to do that because he's part of the family. Now, there are dozens and dozens of people like that.
The people are there for the right reason. They're there because they really want to do something for muscular dystrophy and for people who have it.
Do you know there's still people who believe that the people who are doing this, we are doing it for money? Do you know there are people who say, what are you going to earn over Labor Day? Or what does Ed get? Or what does Casey get?
There's a terrible story about him in Cleveland. Once a disc jockey went on the air and said he gets this much money, and oh, of course he gets. And Jerry went to the town with his manager and confronted him. And they put a huge ad, this big, in the newspaper, the Cleveland Plain Dealer, apologizing for this, you know, ridiculous thing that the person had said. And he realized he was saying what he was saying while he was saying it. I guess it was to get publicity, but he did apologize, the station did, and not too many people realize it. Jerry doesn't make a quarter.
I know, but you have to say it each year. You have to, because there's always somebody who, we've reached the point in this country, we're so cynical.
I know.
We really are. Nobody would believe, Ed, that you'd leave your bar. They think you're out barbecuing, and they couldn't believe you'd leave unless there had to be some reason. And they don't understand. Why do you do it?
Well, I do it. As I said, I came in kind of the back door. It was not a thing of dedication with me like it is with Jerry. That incident I mentioned about doing an hour and all of a sudden 3 hours and then 6 hours and then the whole thing.
But you didn't have to do it every year.
No, I didn't have to do it. But he asked me. And when I got involved in the cause, I really got involved. In fact, my oldest daughter, Claudia, for about 3 years, her job, she took the poster child around in the wheelchair for personal appearances. And they had a special van that she drove, and they had that drop piece that would come down, and they'd wheel the wheel and lift her up. And so my daughter did all that for about 3 years. She wanted to be involved, and you just get caught up in it. What I love about the fact that what this has done, this telethon, aside from all the money we've raised, let's say we've raised $500 million. I don't know what it is, but a lot of money. But you know what it is? When you go into a town, no matter where you are, and you come to the edge of the sidewalk, and there's that ramp for the wheelchair people. They can get up on that sidewalk. And you go into a men's room, or you go in, and there's equipment there to help people. Someone, up till that time, no one thought about that. No one cared about that.
I wish we had more time so we can go on with these stories for the next couple of hours. And this is a lot of fun. And I saw things that I had never seen. And then I remember seeing some when I sit in front of the television and watch the telethon, like a walk down memory lane with the two guys who know Jerry and the telethon best. So thank you very much for sharing all this with us, Casey and Ed. We are going back to Jerry and his guests in Las Vegas, where some new memories are now in the making right now.